Welcome, deep divers. Ready to go deep? Today, we're diving into the heart of the Islamic Golden Age, like seriously fascinating period, right? We're talking about a time when scholars weren't just holding on to knowledge, they were pushing it in ways we still feel today.
It's true. Think 8th to the 13th centuries, a period bursting with ideas that were transforming the world.
And right there, leading the charge, is this philosopher named Al-Farabi. Now, you might not know the name off the top of your head, but trust me, his ideas about leadership, society, even music, they're surprisingly relevant, even over 1,000 years later.
Al-Farabi, he really sums up this whole era. Imagine him traveling through cities like Baghdad, Damascus, Cairo. These places were buzzing with thinkers. It was absorbing knowledge left and right, debating philosophy, even composing music.
Okay, so brilliant, clearly, but what makes him stand out so much?
Well, he's often called the second teacher.
Mm.
And in Islamic philosophy, that's not just a nickname, it's like the ultimate honor. It means you're considered on par with Aristotle himself.
Whoa, that's a lot to live up to. Aristotle's legacy is no joke. But Al-Farabi wasn't just repeating the old stuff, he was onto something new, right?
Exactly. Al-Farabi took those ancient Greek ideas, especially Plato's whole concept of an ideal republic, and blended it with Islamic thought.
Now that's interesting. It wasn't just cultures mingling, it was entire philosophies merging.
Wow.
So when Al-Farabi pictured his virtuous city, what did it even look like?
At the center of it all, a philosopher king, a lot like Plato imagined, but Al-Farabi went a step further. He believed this ideal ruler couldn't just be smart. They needed moral strength, a certain set of virtues, to be precise.
So not just brains, but a strong moral compass too. What sort of virtues did Al-Farabi think were key for a leader?
Wisdom, of course, but also justice, courage, temperance. These weren't just lofty ideas to him. These were qualities you could actually cultivate through serious study and self-reflection.
It's fascinating how he linked personal growth to leadership. So how did he see those virtues being developed, especially in someone with so much power? Because power, let's face it, can be corrupting.
And that's where Al-Farabi's big emphasis on education comes in. For him, education wasn't about memorizing facts. It was about shaping character, instilling a genuine love for wisdom.
So less about inheriting a throne and more about a constant pursuit of knowledge and self-improvement, even for rulers.
Absolutely. He believed that by cultivating these virtues, leaders could resist those tempting traps of power and rule with wisdom and justice. For him, a leader's personal growth was directly tied to the well-being of their whole society.
It's remarkable how those ideas from centuries ago still resonate with how we think about leadership today. I mean, we're always talking about integrity, empathy, a strong moral core in our leaders. Sounds like Al-Farabi was way ahead of the curve. But let's move beyond this philosopher king for a sec. Where did religion fit into Al-Farabi's perfect society? Did he see faith and reason as being at odds?
That's the age-old question, isn't it? But Al-Farabi, he had a surprisingly nuanced take on it. He didn't see religion and philosophy as opposites. Actually, he thought they were like two sides of the same coin, both leading to the same ultimate truth.
Two sides of the same coin. That's an interesting way to put it, especially for his time. So it wasn't about picking sides, but understanding how they work together. Tell me more about that.
Think of it like this. Philosophy. It can seem like this intimidating high peak of knowledge, right? Al-Farabi saw religion as the staircase that could get you there. It made those complex philosophical truths relatable, accessible for everyone. It provided a framework for leading a virtuous life.
So religion became the bridge to those deeper philosophical ideas. But to really scale those heights of philosophical thought, education was crucial. How did Al-Farabi imagine education shaping people, shaping his ideal virtuous city?
We've been talking about Al-Farabi's ideal city with the philosopher king running the show, but is that even realistic? And what's there to stop things from going sideways, even with a philosopher king in charge?
Yeah, good point. It's easy to dream up a perfect leader, but what about when things get real?
Al-Farabi knew that could happen, and that's why education was so important to him. It wasn't just about having a wise leader at the top. It was about everyone being able to think for themselves, not just blindly following anyone.
So empowering people to hold their leaders accountable, even a philosopher king.
Exactly. Al-Farabi believed that education could give people their own moral compass so they could spot injustice and call it out no matter who it came from. It was about everyone being committed to what's right.
Makes sense. Everyone's got a part to play in a just society. But we've talked a lot about Al-Farabi's ideas on politics and philosophy. What about this musical side of him? What can you tell us about that and how it connected to everything else he thought about?
Music wasn't just a hobby for him. It was like a whole other dimension of his thinking. He even wrote a book about it, The Grand Book of Music, super influential in music theory, even today.
A philosopher writing about music theory, that's a new one. What was it about music that fascinated him so much?
Al-Farabi believed that music, like the universe, had its own kind of math, ratios, and harmonies. For him, studying music wasn't just about enjoying the sounds. It was a way to understand how the whole universe works.
Wow, so music was like a secret language of the cosmos to him, and we could understand it by listening to its melodies and
Yeah,
rhythms.
exactly. He was really into those old Greek ideas about the ethos of music, this idea that different kinds of music can make you feel different things, that even change your character.
So play the right kind of music, and people become more virtuous.
That was the idea. He thought music could bring your soul into harmony, like tuning yourself to the universe.
Fascinating. Would he say then that some music is just better than others, more likely to create a good society? I wonder what he'd make of today's music scene, with so many different styles and genres.
It really makes you think, what would someone like Al-Farabi, with his deep thinking, make of it all? Would he hear echoes of those ancient harmonies or something totally new? Would he see the potential for music to bring us together or drive us apart?
It's like he's here right now listening with us. But for now, let's come back to his legacy. We've talked about his influence on philosophers, but did his ideas make a difference in the real world outside of all the big thinkers?
Al-Farabi's ideas, they weren't stuck in some book somewhere. Take education. He really pushed that, and it led to schools, libraries, these learning centers all over during the Islamic Golden Age.
So it's like he didn't just talk about a better world, he actually inspired people to create places where knowledge could spread.
Exactly. These places became hubs, right? People from all walks of life could connect, share ideas. It wasn't just for the elite few.
It's a good reminder that even the big philosophical ideas, when you actually do something with them, they can change things for generations. But what about Al-Farabi himself? What kind of person was he? What made him so driven to learn?
We don't know everything about his life, but the stories we do have paint a picture of a guy who was all about knowledge, living simply. Stuff didn't matter much to him, ideas did.
Reminds me of that saying, it's not what you have, it's what you need. Al-Farabi seemed to get that. But learning back then, that couldn't have been easy. No libraries, no internet.
You got it. Finding knowledge back then, a whole different ballgame. Books were rare, travel was risky.
But it didn't stop him. That says a lot, the sheer willpower to overcome all that. Did he ever get any pushback, though? Trying to bring together Greek philosophy and Islamic thought, that couldn't have always been easy.
Of course, there were people who weren't happy. New ideas always ruffle some feathers. Some folks were suspicious, even hostile. But Al-Farabi, he saw debating different viewpoints as part of the process.
That's a good lesson, right? Progress doesn't just happen in a bubble. You need to be open to different perspectives, even if they challenge you.
For sure. That's a big part of Al-Farabi's impact. He reminds us that knowledge isn't about being right all the time. It's about staying curious, keeping an open mind, and always looking for deeper truths.
Well said. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of Al-Farabi, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from his story?
That real knowledge, it's not just about how many facts you know. It's about searching for wisdom, being a good person, and feeling connected to the world. And maybe most importantly, it's about recognizing that even ideas from over 1,000 years ago can still teach us something today.
It's been amazing exploring the life and legacy of this extraordinary thinker. From his vision of an ideal city to those cosmic harmonies he heard in music, Al-Farabi's ideas, they make you think. They push us to look at leadership, society, even knowledge itself in a new light.
I like to think of him like a guide, reminding us that searching for knowledge is a journey worth taking, full of surprises and timeless wisdom.
And on that note, we'll leave you to explore the fascinating world of Al-Farabi. Until next time, keep those minds curious and keep diving deep.